coming up to the 5th year anniversary of me taking over and purchasing Churchgate Lakes. It's been an incredible journey, stressful. Never ever thought I suffered from anxiety, but it can. I use the analogy of spinning plates and stuff like that. It all came about, and I've mentioned this in other social media posts, etc. But we literally found Churchgate by accident. We were down in Devon, we were living in Hanningfield round the corner, me and Gemma, my fiance. We were just going to look at some houses down there and went on Rightmove, and I forgot to put in current location on the app, so it came up with my postcode that was saved on the app, which was in Hanningfield. And the house came up here at Churchgate, and I thought, wow, obviously all by accident, but sometimes people say things are meant to happen. I believe in fate, definitely, and karma. So yeah, we found this house and fell in love with it straight away, and we weren't even moving, we weren't even looking to move. But we thought, God, we've got to go and have a look at this. And my wife, Gemma, or fiance Gemma, believes that this 1111 is a significant number. And it was 11 minutes past 11 in the morning when we literally looked at each other and said, this house is beautiful. So maybe that was fate, that we were meant to get it. So yeah, phoned the agent straight away and said, is it available? They said, yeah. I said, can we view it Friday when we're back from Devon? They said, yeah. Came down. It did say in the particulars, it said fishery by separate negotiation. Many of you know that know me or know my journey so far, those that are watching this and seeing me for the first time, I'd never ever laid foot on a fishery in my life, ever. Never fished before, never had a dad or a granddad that took me fishing like the most of you guys watching now. And I thought, I'm not really too worried about that, I'm just interested in the house. Viewed the house, fell in love with it, beautiful. But then he took me through to see the lakes, and it was literally in the garden. There wasn't even boundary fences properly between the two. And I thought, well, if we're going to buy this house, we need to buy the fishery, or I need to at least have a say in what goes down in my back garden. So we walked away and we said, or I said to Gemma, we either buy the lot or we don't buy it. We put the house up for sale and then set about selling my house and doing what we needed to do to buy this place. And that's how it all started. So from the time we came and viewed the house to finally purchasing and completing was 9 months. Probably the most stressful 9 months of my life. But maybe I didn't even know what I was letting myself in for, because the stress was only just going to begin. By the time we purchased the house, it was February, a month before lockdown, and then there was a little bit of a delay on some paperwork for the lakes, and that didn't go through to April, hence coming up to the 5th anniversary now. So this was April 2020, and if any of you remember, that was lockdown. So I bought a fishing lake of 15 acres, 3 lakes, and I couldn't open the doors. Now that is stressful, because I had a mortgage on it by then and everything else. But at the end of the day, I just thought, there's nothing I can do. I'll just set about getting it up to how I want it. And the reason I really started doing that was actually before I completed on the purchase. It was in March, and from my old property, I had a 5-ton digger and I had a 3-ton dumper. So I brought those with me, obviously. And I was in the house one day and they phoned me from the tackle shop and said, Jodi, can you do me a favour and tow someone out of the car park? I went, out the car park? They said, yeah, they're stuck in the mud. So I said, okay, no problem. So I thought, came round, towed them out, and I thought, oh, this ain't no good. The mud and everything else, and it was, my OCD couldn't deal with it. So I said to Dale, the previous owner, I said, do you mind if I start tidying things up, scraping the mud back? And he said, it's going to be yours soon anyway, so fill your boots. And that's what I did. So that's how the whole renovation, if you like, started, just from that one phone call saying tow an angler out of the car park because he was stuck and sliding in the mud. So crazy. I didn't think that fisheries should be like that, but apparently a lot of them are. And because I've come from a non-fishing background, I've played golf all my life. I'm used to manicured fairways and nice paths and flower beds and stuff like that. I've never, like I said, I never knew what fishing lakes were like. So it was a fresh approach. It was probably, if I'm honest, I probably did too much, more than was needed. But I found a niche in the market, I think, looking back now 5 years on, where I use this analogy all the time. You can fish at a standard basic fishery, or you can come somewhere like this. You can stay at a Premier Inn. I stayed in one last Saturday, or you can stay at the Ritz. I didn't stay there the Saturday after, unfortunately. But that's the sort of comparisons. You pay a different price for both of those experiences. And just like fishing, you can pay a different price for the experience, the facilities, and the overall way that your session will be. And that's what we've done in the last 5 years, and that's how it started, from that one guy getting stuck in the car park. So April 2020 came around. We got the keys to the door, so to speak, and we couldn't open. So like I said, we just cracked on. I was scraping paths. We're actually sitting in swim 2 here on the middle lake, and that apparently was famous for always flooding, the water either leaking down from the top lake, I don't know. But this path here from 1 to 3 was always a bog. And you'll see from this video that of what it was like before and now what it's like now. So it was a matter of, it's sort of like a snowball effect. I tidied one little bit up, and then that made the rest look scruffy and muddy, and I ended up having to do the whole lot. The swims were, especially on this lake, were the old railway sleepers, the creosote ones. They'd moved with time and with the ground moving and stuff like that. They just looked very, very natural, but a little bit maybe untidy, not big enough, muddy, stuff like that. And that's no reflection on the previous owner. At the end of the day, whatever they did and whatever they decided to spend on the place was their choice. They didn't charge the money I'm charging now, and they didn't have the funds coming in to be able to do what I've done now. And that's where I always say to people, you get what you pay for here. It does cost more than what it does anywhere else, but look at what I spend of that money on improving it all the time. And that's important to me, and that's what I think, because I own the land, it's very easy for me to invest that money, because I will get that back. A lot of fisheries, they're leased from a farmer, and those fishery owners can't warrant spending that money, because the farmer can just go, I'll have it back now, once they've spent all that money, and then they've lost it. So it's not a wise investment for them. So I'm lucky that we own the land, and therefore the investment I'm putting in it will add value to that land. And therefore, if ever, I'm not going anywhere by the way, but if ever I did decide to leave, then that money could be recouped, or at least some of it. So all through COVID, when most of you were furloughed, or obviously, and if anyone's in the frontline services, then my hat's off to you. But those that weren't, and that were furloughed or just sitting at home having parties and whatever you were doing, we were obviously stuck at home. It was a nice home, by the way, but I was just round here all the time, cutting down trees, scraping paths, just whatever needed doing to make it what it is now. And you'll see from the images from when we first took it over to the pictures now, the transformation is unrecognisable in places. And I don't even know where and how we did it, if that makes sense. It's sort of just day to day, every day we were doing this and doing that and doing that. And then suddenly we've got to this situation. And there's someone I want to give a massive, massive thanks to and a big shout out. He's Dickie Smith. I've known him for 30 odd years. Owned his own fencing firm for 40 years. He's been with me since May 2020. And that was because of COVID. He was 70 years old then. And because of COVID and the rules, he couldn't go on site putting up fencing and stuff like that. He worked with his son. And I asked them to do some fencing for me here. His boy and Dickie did it. And then, because he couldn't go on site with them, I said, well, why don't you come work for me then? Because you can just stay on, totally secluded, isolated. And he's done every single bit of fencing. Anyway, cut long story short, he did. He joined me in May 20, and it's coming up to May 25 now. So 5 years he's been with me, come May. And he's done every single bit of close board fencing that we've got here. We ripped down all the post and rail, which some of it was rotten, some of it had barbed wire on an internal fence, which was dangerous anyway. So we've ripped all that out. We've put nice close board fencing all the way to line the paths that we've rebuilt. We've scraped it down to dry clay, and he's helped me do that as well. He's done loads of stuff. He can do more or less anything, and he's helped me do all of those. We worked together building these swims that I'm sitting on now, and I enjoyed it. I loved it. I used to enjoy getting up in the morning going to work. I put LED. It's a joke that I tell my family, like moan at me all the time because I go on about what time I get up in the morning, how hard I work. But I put extra LED lights on my digger so that I could work before it got light, because in the winter you get a shorter day, as you know, but I wanted to get more done. So yeah, we were scraping back the paths, putting the membrane down, crushed concrete, rolling that, then road planings. We've done 1,700 tonnes of road planing so far around these lakes. All 3 lakes are around 400 metres in circumference. So you've got 1,200 metres there, that's 1.2 kilometres of pathway, plus the car parks as well. So it's crazy to think and remember back where Sims Environmental, nothing to do with me unfortunately, they were supplying me all the planing, so they were coming down our narrow lane, rectory lane into the fishery, tipping them in the car park, and then we were shoveling them into the dumpers and moving them around the lakes to wherever the part of the lakes we were working at the time. And yeah, just crazy to think that that's what's gone into making this place mud free. So yeah, it's incredible, and like I said, I owe a lot to Dickie boy because I couldn't have done it without him. He was 5-6 days a week back then, and now he's just doing 2, but them 2 days he probably does 3 days work anyway. So incredible man. I see him like a dad, and he's loyal to me, and we love working together. And like I said, this place wouldn't be what it is without him. We set about obviously making the paths mud free, which was #1 priority, and then the top lake. There's a very popular bank on the top lake, which is from swims 3 round to 9, and there was all they were sort of the telegraph poles, like a telegraph pole cut down into stumps, and then there's like a little semicircle and it was just mud really, and that was the area that you fished from, which is totally normal in every, like 80% of fisheries. But as some of the ground was falling away or wearing away, I noticed that people were having to climb over these stumps to put the fish back in the water and obviously take them out. I didn't feel that was safe for them and ideal for the fish either. So what I decided to do was, and the path itself was just, it was like a muddy path in the winter. Obviously in the summer it was dry mud and it was fine. But my OCD wanted it perfect, wanted it to be something special. The golf course analogy that I keep using brings me back to that. So we set about digging these swims out, taking all the telegraph pole stumps out, and then making a swim with a balustrade so that was your area, that's your private area that you've rented, if you like, to fish from for your session, however long that may be. And it's a flat space, it's space for the bivvies. I even went as far as measuring bivvies to see how big we needed to make it so we could get any size bivvy in most of the swims. Obviously if I didn't have the room to do that, then I couldn't. But we did, we made sure that there was room. And then I was thinking to myself, where we reopened to start with, people were paying, or the fishery charged £5 to charge the bait boat batteries. You're allowed bait boats here, and obviously they were a big up and coming thing back 5 years ago. And I was thinking, so they need electric. why don't I just put electric in the swims and charge them a little bit more on each swim? And that's where that came about. So another thing as well, which is quite interesting, where COVID was lifting and the lockdown was lifting slowly, fishing everyone was allowed to do. So every Tom, Dick and Harry become an angler. They'd go to Angling Direct, they'd buy a grand's worth of fishing equipment and call themselves anglers. And they were all obviously coming to my lakes, which helped me after the period of not being open. Then I had a massive influx of people wanting to come fishing. And there, with the COVID rules, we had to have a booking system, so we knew exactly who was here and where they were, and the 2 metre rule and all of those things. But that's sort of where Swim Booker came around. That sort of scenario where we had to do bookings, so you didn't have to just, because originally you couldn't book a swim. You'd turn up, you'd go and put a bucket down on a swim, go back to the car, trudge up with all your stuff. I was thinking, this is like ag, you know? I couldn't imagine wanting to do that as a relaxing sport. So when you book through the COVID rules, you knew that who was going to be there, you knew that was going to be your swim. So that was where the 7 till 7 was devised. So 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or you weren't allowed nights at the time, but then it would become 7 p.m. or to 7 a.m. So you book the swims in 12-hour segments, as many as you wanted to do, and then obviously we charged accordingly for those sections or sessions. So that's where the booking system came around, and I think that's where the idea for Swim Booker came, for Alfie, very good friend of mine. And again, that was sort of the development from that booking system to what we have today with an online system, app, and you can book your swim, you can move your swim once you've booked, it's no problem. But it just takes that stress of having to get here early, not knowing if you're going to get a swim. I couldn't do that. I couldn't pack all my gear in a car, drive half hour, 20 minutes, whatever it is, and then get there and they go, oh, sorry, we're full. What'd you do then? Have to go to another lake. But by the time you've travelled around, it might be 10, 11 o'clock. You've missed that morning bite time that they all talk about. So that's where the booking system came around, and yeah, best thing that I think we ever did. When you're booking a session, it's your area, and that path that I talk about up at the top lake, it was just like a patch where people would have their bivvies. But you could trip over the bivvy pegs as you're walking down the path, you know. There was no real separation between the path and the swim where they were fishing from. So that's where the idea of the balustrade came around. It's like a doorway into the swim. And I like that. It's obviously, listen, it costs a lot more money, but once it's built, other than the maintenance and the staining of it, it's there, and you can use the balustrade as a shelf to do rigs and put bits and pieces on like that. But yeah, so we built these areas. We got the sizes of the bivvies, so we knew what sort of size they needed to be. We put electric in them because I thought if you're going to be needing to charge things, then why not have electric in your swims? That cost me an absolute fortune because we had to run quite a thick cable around the lake so that it didn't have voltage drop. Again, stuff I've had to learn through the work that we've been doing. When I took this place over, I was told that in the summer it's really busy and in the winter it's really quiet. I said, well, why would that be? He said, because it's cold, it's dark, it's wet, it's muddy, and it's not really where people want to be in the winter. So I thought, right, so if I want to change that, if I want to get this place busy in the winter, I need to get rid of the mud, tick, get rid of the cold, electric heaters, tick, get rid of the dark and dinge, lights all the way around the lakes. All 3 lakes are surrounded by lights now. Really, really nice, comfortable lighting. Again, nice when it's getting dark at 3, 4 in the afternoon and not getting light till 8, half 8 in the morning. Those lights are a game changer. So lighting, tick. And then, like I said, the mud-free, the dry, clean winter fishing is exactly what you get here at Churchgate, and I'm really, really proud of that. So yeah, so we did the nice big square flat swims with the balustrade, with the doorway in, but more importantly, because of those stumpy telegraph poles I mentioned, I built these platforms that are actually over the water. So you can sit your pod on there, you can screw your stage stands into them if you needed to, but you can literally lay down if you need to put the fish in and out of the water safely without tripping over a stump or anything like that. And I thought that was very, very important. But more importantly, you could fish here if you're disabled. There's plenty of access. We've got the buggy service, which I'll go on to later. But yeah, it's user friendly. And I think in this day and age where health and safety is a big thing, then it was important to make sure that the swims were safe and flat, spacious, and like I say, user friendly.